Welcome to a new program on functional English. And thank you all very much for the encouragement and support you have given us right through this series of programs on functional English. A clerk once wrote to his boss, and the boss was the American Secretary of State, asking for a pay rise. And this was how the Secretary of State responded in writing to the request for pay rise. And I quote, "Because of the fluctuational predisposition of your position's productive capacity as juxtaposed to government standards, it would be momentarily injudicious to advocate an increment." I wonder whether the clerk actually realized that his request for a pay rise was being turned down. What this anecdote quite forcefully teaches us is the immense value of plain and simple language, language that our listeners and readers can easily understand. Martin Cutts, an advocate of plain English, defines plain English as a way of presenting essential information to a person so that he gets a good chance of understanding the document at first reading, and in the same sense that the writer meant it to be understood.
Aren't you excited, Sheila? The vacations have started. And how are you planning to spend the vacations?
I don't know how I'll actually spend my vacation, but my dream holiday would be umpteen movies, lots of ice cream and melons to beat the scorching heat, and of course, long swims.
That's interesting, Sheila. On my dream holiday, I'd go on a trip to solar system.
Oh my God, Winnie, how different you are. Is this weird dream of yours due to our geography teacher's influence on you?
Come on, Preeti. Let Winnie continue with her dream.
I'd go to Mars first. I would enjoy being photographed by the Martians. Then I'd take my tennis racket along to play tennis with the aliens, and then visit Uranus and Saturn. I would love to see the rings of Saturn.
Do you intend coming down to Earth at all, Winnie?
Tarun, why don't you tell us about your dream holiday?
I'd prefer to spend my vacations at my grandparents' house in the village. I hate spending most of my life in the cities. The pollution, the noise, it's quite disturbing. So I would prefer to get away to the village and spend a quite nice, peaceful vacation over there. And I love listening to my grandmother's stories of my childhood pranks.
Tarun, why don't you tell us something interesting you did as a child?
Well, let me think. Yeah, my grandfather had a favorite chair, and he loved relaxing on the chair after dinner. And I used to tease him a lot. So one day, I poured some water on the chair just before he sat on it.
Oh my God, he must have been shocked.
Yes, he was. He regretted inviting me to the village.
My idea of a dream holiday is spending a month in Switzerland. I love to roll on the snow, make snowmen, and ski. I dislike living in a hot place like Hyderabad. I'd like to go to a cooler place.
How about our air-conditioned computer lab, Preeti? Don't you think that's a cool place?
Winnie, I hate being reminded of my summer coaching.
What is your dream holiday? Would you prefer watching films or enjoy reading books? I would love to sleep through my holiday. In these sentences, we see that people talk about their likes, dislikes, preferences, and intentions. When people talk about their likes, dislikes, preferences, and intentions, they use a particular kind of a verb, and that is in the non-finite form. The form of the verb is the verb plus to plus the we form. This is known as the infinitival form of the verb. Listen to the following examples.
On my dream holiday, I'd like to go on a trip around the solar system. I would love to see the rings of Saturn.
I love to roll on the snow, make snowmen.
I'd prefer to spend my vacations at my grandparents' house in the village.
Here are some more examples. I like to sleep. I like to watch cricket. I like to read novels. We can also use the verb plus ing form. This is known as the gerundial form of the verb. These examples will explain the gerundial form.
I would enjoy being photographed by the Martians.
Do you intend coming down to earth at all, Vinny?
And I love listening to my grandmother's stories of my childhood pranks.
I dislike living in a hot place like Hyderabad.
Here are a few more examples. I like sleeping late. I like watching cricket. I like reading novels. I'm sure you would like to know the difference between I like watching cricket and I like to watch cricket. In the first sentence, I like watching cricket, it indicates that you are a great lover of cricket and you always watch cricket. It's a general fact. In the second sentence, I like to watch cricket, it indicates that you may not be a lover of cricket, but well, you do watch cricket. As in Winnie's statement,
On my dream holiday, I'd like to go on a trip around the solar system.
now listen to this interesting dialogue between the mother and a son. Rohit, why do you always fail in your history exam? Mummy, I hate studying history. In the exam, they always ask me about things that happened before I was born. Interesting comment, don't you think? Remember that verbs like love, like, hate, prefer, intend and regret can be followed by the to infinitive form and the ing form of a verb. For example, as in the following sentences. I like to eat chocolates. I like eating chocolates. On the other hand, verbs like enjoy, adore, dislike and can't stand can be followed only by the ing form of the verb. For example, I can say, I enjoy teaching grammar. But you might reply, oh, I dislike being taught grammar. Now let's return to the following piece.
Vinny, do you remember doing something silly or funny as a child?
Oh yes, Preeti. I remember following my sister wherever she went. One day, while following her to school, I lost my way and took the wrong lane.
Oh my god, did you forget to be close to her?
Yes, luckily, my sister's friend found me sobbing and took me back to my sister.
I remember crying when my father shaved off his beard. I wouldn't go near him. I thought he was a stranger.
As a child, I remember locking my father in the bathroom once. I was so upset because I couldn't get him out of there.
Then, how did he come out?
Fortunately for me, he'd forgotten to lock the main door, and so our neighbors could enter the house and rescue him.
Come on, Preeti. You tell us something about your childhood.
I don't remember doing anything foolish like all of you.
Hey, come on, Preeti, okay?
Do you know that remember and forget are very interesting verbs? They can be followed by both the to infinitival form and the ing form of a verb.
Fortunately for me, he'd forgotten to lock the main door, and so our neighbors could enter the house and rescue him.
I remember crying when my father shaved off his beard. I wouldn't go near him. I thought he was a stranger.
However, there's a slight difference in meaning. Let's look at the following examples. Viewers, remember to use the non-finite forms correctly. In this sentence, the act of remembering precedes the act of using the non-finite forms. However, if a student tells a teacher, "Teacher, I remember using the non-finite forms correctly, but you've marked them wrong," the act of using the non-finite forms precedes the act of remembering. So, you see how the form of a verb can bring in subtle changes in meanings. Friends, we hope you can talk about your likes, dislikes, preferences and intentions now with the tips that we have given you. See you for now.
Welcome back. As always, could I make a few comments on the focus of the day's program, two infinitives and ing forms. Firstly, we use the infinitive without to after the modal verbs can and could, may and might, shall and should, will and would, and must. For example, we say, could you help me? Not, could you too help me? In most other cases, however, we use the infinitive with to. For example, I want to have a holiday, not I won't have a holiday. Secondly, an adverb can sometimes go between to and the verb in a to infinitive construction. For example, Adit didn't expect Kiran to suddenly change his mind. Now, this is called a split infinitive because the word suddenly splits the infinitive to change. Split infinitives are common usage, although some people regard them as incorrect. In general, it is safer to avoid them if you can, especially in writing. But remember, sometimes we have to split the infinitive in order to indicate that the adverb is modifying it. For example, we can say, no one claims to really understand what is happening. Thirdly, study this pair of sentences. Karthi likes to dance. Karthi likes dancing. In the first sentence, Karthi likes to dance. Karthi is talking about herself as the agent performing the act of dancing. In the second sentence, Karthi likes dancing. It is the event, not the act, that is the focus of attention, with the possibility that Karthi herself is not dancing. That is, if Karthi is watching the event on TV and is enjoying it, you need to say, Karthi likes dancing, not Karthi likes to dance. Lastly, study this sentence. Walking across the field, we saw a plane fly past. In this sentence, the subject of the ing clause and the subject of the main clause is the same. That is, the sentence can be rewritten as we were walking across the field, we saw a plane fly past. In this case, therefore, we cannot omit the subject of the main clause, that is the word we, which means we cannot possibly say, walking across the field, a plane flew past. Because that would suggest that the plane was walking across the field, which of course is nonsense. Advice: beware of sentences that begin with an ing form.